What if the biggest economic collapse in human history is not caused by corruption, greed, or political failure, but by simple mathematics? What if the system we live inside is not broken at all, but functioning exactly as its equations demand? Every era believes it has outsmarted the past. Every generation is told that this time, debt is manageable, growth is guaranteed, and collapse belongs to history books. And yet again and again, societies reach the same moment where promises exceed reality. The mystery is not why crises happen. The mystery is why we are still surprised when they do. To understand this, we need to step back before stock markets, before central banks, before paper money. Debt existed long before money did. In ancient Mesopotamia, records carved into clay tablets tracked obligations of grain and silver. These debts were not abstract. If you couldn't pay, you lost land, status, or freedom. Over time, rulers noticed a dangerous pattern. Debts accumulated faster than people could realistically repay them. Entire populations drifted toward permanent bondage. The solution was not innovation, but erasure. Kings periodically declared debt jubilees, wiping obligations clean. Not because they were kind, but because the system was mathematically collapsing. Too much debt destroyed the society that was supposed to support it. This pattern repeats through history with disturbing consistency. In ancient Greece, debt crises destabilized city-states. In Rome, expansion was financed through borrowing and conquest. As expansion slowed, debts remained. To compensate, coins were debased, taxes increased, and trust eroded. The Roman economy did not collapse overnight. It hollowed out slowly, until the numbers no longer matched reality. What's important here is not morality or politics, but arithmetic. Promises grew faster than the ability to fulfill them. Centuries later, humanity believed it had finally mastered the problem. The rise of modern banking and interest-bearing loans created the illusion of control. Interest looked harmless, even productive. Borrow capital, invest it, generate more value, pay back the loan with profit left over. On a small scale, this works. On a system-wide scale, it introduces something dangerous: exponential growth. Interest is not linear, it compounds. At first, the curve looks flat, calm, safe. Then it bends, and then it explodes upward. The modern financial system was built on the assumption that economic growth would always outrun debt. As long as tomorrow was bigger than today, obligations could be rolled forward indefinitely. Central banks emerged to manage money supply and stabilize cycles. Governments borrowed against future productivity. Everything appeared stable, even elegant. But beneath this stability was a silent dependency. The system did not just benefit from growth, it required it. The 20th century accelerated this dependency. After the Great Depression and World War II, debt was embraced as a tool of recovery and control. Governments spent, consumers borrowed, corporations leveraged. Credit became synonymous with opportunity. Over time, a crucial shift occurred. Money itself became debt. New money was created through loans. Every dollar, euro, or pound entered existence already owed back with interest. This meant the total amount owed was always greater than the total amount of money available to repay it. This is where the debt spiral truly begins. To pay interest, more debt must be created. To service old loans, new loans are required. The system survives only if borrowing expands continuously. When borrowing slows, defaults rise. When defaults rise, panic spreads. So growth must be pushed harder. Interest rates are lowered. Credit standards loosened. Financial instruments become more complex to extract growth from stagnation. Each solution delays the problem, but deepens it. For a while, it works. Debt fuels consumption. Asset prices rise, people feel richer, even as obligations pile up. But eventually, reality intervenes. Productivity slows. Resources become constrained, wages stagnate, yet debt obligations do not slow. They compound regardless of human limits. This is the breaking point. The moment when the curve goes vertical and the system becomes fragile. At this stage, even small shocks can trigger massive consequences. A housing slowdown, a liquidity crunch, a sudden rate increase. Because leverage exists everywhere, Stress travels instantly through the system. What follows is often described as chaos, but it is better understood as compression. Years of future growth, pulled forward by debt, suddenly demand payment in the present. And the system reveals its core rule. Some obligations must be honored at all costs, while others can be sacrificed. The fallout is remarkably predictable. Savings are destroyed through inflation or currency devaluation. Public services are cut to reassure creditors. Taxes rise on those least able to escape them. Meanwhile, large institutions are rescued, not because they are moral, but because their failure would collapse the entire structure. Losses are socialized. Gains accumulated during the expansion remain private. This is not a conspiracy. It is a necessity within a debt-based system. Trust begins to erode. People sense that the rules are not the same for everyone. Social cohesion weakens. Political extremes grow. History shows that this phase rarely resolves peacefully. The pressure does not disappear. It searches for release. Societies have tried many fixes. Austerity promises discipline, but reduces demand, shrinking the economy faster than debt. Inflation quietly reduces real obligations, but destroys purchasing power and trust. Financial repression traps savings in low-yield assets. Money printing injects liquidity but inflates bubbles and inequality. Each fix buys time, unsolve the underlying contradiction. Exponential financial claims cannot be sustained indefinitely by a finite real world. Today, the scale is unprecedented. Global debt exceeds global economic output by multiples. Governments carry obligations that can never realistically be repaid, only refinanced. Corporations depend on cheap credit to survive. Households juggle multiple forms of debt just to maintain living standards. Interest rates near zero were not an experiment. They were a requirement. Even modest increases threaten collapse. And yet, keeping rates low guarantees long-term instability. What's most alarming is not the size of the numbers, but the speed of repetition. Crises are happening closer together. Each recovery requires more intervention than the last. Confidence in institutions declines with every cycle. Technology has not broken the pattern. It has accelerated it. Faster markets mean faster contagion. Bigger balance sheets mean bigger failures. The math has not changed. It's only the scale has. So what does this all mean? First, the debt spiral is not primarily a moral or political failure. It is a mathematical one. Blaming individuals or ideologies distracts from the structure itself. Second, systems built on perpetual growth cannot remain stable in finite conditions. They must either transform or periodically collapse. There is no third option. Third, awareness matters. You may not control the system, but understanding its mechanics changes how you navigate it. Every civilization eventually confronts the limits of its abstractions. Debt is a promise about the future, but the future cannot deliver infinitely when the present is constrained by energy, resources, and human capacity. The real question is not whether the debt spiral will tighten again. It is how societies respond when it does. Will they cling to illusions and push the curve steeper, or rethink the foundations entirely? If this video challenged the way you see money, debt, and growth, then subscribe to the channel. It's not because we offer easy answers, but because understanding the system is the first step to not being blindsided by it. Because the hardest part of escaping a spiral is realizing you're already inside one.